Well, welcome back everybody. My name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelly's Country Life. So today is a day that I've been looking forward to for quite some time, for several weeks actually. Our first garden picking day. Now, while we don't have many vegetables that are ready, a lot of y'all asked for a garden tour, so we're going to do that. And I already see some things that are ready to pick. So really excited about this. Been really looking forward to it. Okay, so for starters, let's take a peek at the okra. Good news and bad news over here. I've got something really weird going on. It looks like this end, for some reason, we are really lacking some nutrients. So I just hit this with some liquid fertilizer, which I've never really had to do before, but I'm seeing a lot of yellowing in the leaves, and for some reason, this area just right here, I don't know if there is a fungus going on or what's going on, but my plants are not making it. But then you come down here to sections like this and the plants are just exploding in growth and looking beautiful. Now, I made this compost last year, and one thing that I was worried about is I didn't add any manure or basically any kind of really good nitrogen content to it. And that may be the effects of what I'm seeing right now. Although the weird thing is everything else in the garden looks nice, deep green and beautiful. So something is going on with my okra. But if I don't lose any more plants than I see, I'm still going to wind up with more okra than I need. Honestly, the okra is too thick as it is now. All right, so we'll take a quick look at the beans. I've got them in random spots throughout the garden. They are loving whatever's going on in the compost. They're doing exceptionally well. And if you look down inside here, there is, look at that. I am loaded, and I mean loaded with beans. We've got to start picking today. That's what we're going to do right now. Then we'll continue the garden tour. So these are Blue Lake bush beans. I have never grown these before. Last year we grew Romas and loved them. They tasted awesome. Problem was, could not find any Roma bush bean seeds this year. So they had some Blue Lake in stock. We thought we would try them. And so far they're growing so well. That's a good looking bean right there. And from what I can tell, everybody tells me that these don't have that string, which I don't know. We grew some last year that did. Let's see. Pop the end off, go either direction. I don't see a string coming out. So hopefully there's a good. We like to get them actually smaller than this and tender. But we'll see. We'll try some big ones and some small ones. Like I said, this is a new bean for me, even though I know it's a very common and popular bean. And like most beans, the more you pick them, the more they grow. Go ahead and see if we have any beans over here. These plants are at different stages. Some of them are loaded up with beans. Some of them are still just coming on and starting to put their first tiny beans on. It's probably going to be a while before we have a consistent crop. So obviously the beans look very happy and they're doing really well. So between these two boxes, this is my first little picking. I've already got a bucket full of beans. We're going to have to pick a little bit more to have a meal out of that. But I've also got more bean plants that are ready over here. We'll look at those in just a second. And if I have to, I'll just wait a day or two before we cook up a meal and pick a few more, because there's plenty more coming on and getting close. I just want to fill out a little more. So corn, I'm a little worried, I'm not gonna lie, but overall looks really good and it has absolutely exploded in growth. Check this out. So, has it grown since the last time you looked at it? Yeah, absolutely. But here's what I'm worried about. I knew I was risking it and experimenting growing my corn as close together as I did this year. And I must say, the corn's getting really tall, but the stalks are really tiny. And that's probably because I have crowded it a little more than I ever have before. The only thing that is worrying me is I'm starting to see tops on some corn, but I'm not really seeing many ears of corn. There is a couple of them starting to put on some ears way down in here. Hard to even show on camera, but the majority of these are not putting on ears at all. And maybe they're going to start here this week or so. I'm tempted to go get some ammonium nitrate or some fertilizer and really throw to the roots of these to give them an extra kick. But overall, the color and everything else looks good. I just don't like the size of the stalks and the fact that I'm not seeing ears of corn yet. And I'll explain why. Well, I lied to you. Some of these are, I'm starting to see tiny little ears of corn, but they're not coming on as quick as I would like, because if you come over here to this corn that's very open, full of sunlight and all, check this out. Ears of corn everywhere. 2 ears of corn on that one. And look at the size of these stalks. So overcrowding could be an issue over there. Time will tell though. There's an ear of corn coming on right in there. So I would like to see those as filled out as these, but it's just not happening right now. But I'll keep checking it day by day. And whenever I planted this thick, and like I did, I told y'all this was kind of an experiment. And I knew there was a risk to planting this thick, but you just don't never know till you try. So potatoes, my goodness, they are looking beautiful. They are still looking so good, I'm worried. So I decided to dig down in them. The reason I'm worried is I have always heard, and a lot of y'all have told me, beautiful big looking potatoes like this sometimes can mean no potatoes in the ground. It puts all its energy in the plant, none of the potatoes. So I have dug up a couple hills in here by hand and have been finding new potatoes. How many I have, I do not know, but I've been finding good, solid, just healthy looking potatoes. So I'm okay. I know I'm getting potatoes in there. So what we're gonna do is wait quite a while longer for leaves to start dying off, plants to die off. I don't think we're too terribly far away from that. And once these plants start dying and wilting over, that's when I dig my potatoes. I know all the energy's in them, and I've made maximum potato production. The only issue I'm having going on, got one ant bed right here, and I think they're working on some of my potatoes. I really don't want to put poisons in here for the ants. I'm tempted to let these couple potatoes on the end be sacrificial, so to speak. Give the ants something to eat, because if I were to pull these potatoes up right now, the ants are just going to move on to the next potatoes. And I still think I'm going to wind up with quite a few potatoes in here. A full hill is just a tremendous amount for one little ant colony to eat, so hopefully they only get into just a few potatoes. But this will be the first end that I pick and kind of work that way quickly. So squash and zucchini. Good story, bad story. My plants are doing what they did last year. They are putting on so many squash and zucchini in each plant, sometimes 7 or 8. The plant just does not have the energy to fill them out completely. So I've been coming out and popping off some of the smaller, maybe unhealthy looking ones, and try to let the plant focus its energy on 2 to 3 squash per plant, say, because there's just no way it can put that much energy in filling out. See, that one's already got 5 on it right now, I can see. So as soon as the first one looks a little unhealthy, I'm chunking it over the fence. Since I've started doing that a couple days ago, I'm starting to get some filled out really well, but you're gonna see I'm gonna pick a couple that are not filled out. But this is gonna be our second picking of the day. I'm probably gonna pick a few of these a bit small, because I am dying to have some fried squash chips. I'm not a big fried food fan, but I absolutely love fried squash and zucchini chips, especially squash chips. They taste so good. So every now and then we do fry, and I really look forward to this. Now here's what I'm talking about. Some of these plants are not filling out the squash completely. I'll still eat this, but I've noticed they're getting long, not filling out, plumping up completely whenever they're loaded down with several. But there's quite a few plants I've done went and picked off ones like this, and they're filling out and looking normal. So let me show you that. So here's another plant with one I'll definitely eat. That's more like what I'm looking for right there. This is straight neck squash, so I'm expecting a nice long straight. Sometimes I plant crook neck, but filled out like that, maybe even a little bigger, that's what I'm looking for. I didn't even see this when I come out earlier. We've also got our first zucchini for the day. That's about the size I like to pick them. My couple zucchini plants that made it through the frost are loading up like crazy. All right, so here we are. Got quite a few more. And there is several more on the plant that are so close. I may come back out here and check them this afternoon. Squash and zucchini grow so fast. In the heat of the summer, when the plants are really putting on, a lot of times I'll pick them twice a day. Sometimes in the morning, and if there's one that's not quite big enough, let it go to this afternoon, and you'll be surprised how much bigger it'll get just in a few hours. I don't know what's going on here. We have a bee that is not very happy. Oh, look at him. Two two honeybees fighting in there. Well, it kind of looks like honeybees. Guess they're fighting over who gets the pollen and nectar out of that flower, huh? Hey guys, knock it off. There you go. Y'all keep doing your job pollinating for me. So, there's just zucchini loading up on these plants everywhere. As far as over here goes, cantaloupes are finally starting to vine out and run. Got a couple brown spots on some leaves I'll keep an eye on. Cucumbers, doing really well. They're climbing and running. And I think I just seen my first cucumber. So check that out right there. Our first cucumber. They're already producing. So these are looking really happy. They're starting to grab a hold, run up the trail. It's just what I want them to do. Now over here, I've done showed you some of this corn, but I've also got beans over here that some I can pick. And so far, so good. Thought I'd experiment again this year to see if I could grow beans interweaved with corn. Everything looks happy at the moment. Now my corn's all different sizes because we had a late season frost that killed some of it and I had to replant some. But everything's looking really happy in this bed over here. So I'm about to go through and pick some beans out of here. Definitely producing beans in here. As far as the rest of the garden goes, starting to load up with blueberries. Got some even turning colors. Our grapevines are running and hanging on very well, so happy with that. Still can't get over how loaded with grapes this grapevine right here is. I have never seen one load up so much. That's wild. Actually, we got a lot of muscadine grapevines naturally on the property. We need to go do a video checking those out. Got some more blueberries over here. As you can see, we're putting on. Even got some starting to turn. So everything's looking good. And last but not least, my cantaloupes. They finally got healthy, enjoyed this hot weather, and they're taking off. They'll be falling outside the bed here before long. They're vining out, running. I can't wait till I see my first cantaloupe. Probably just a little too early. I'm seeing some flowers and things that could be them, but time will tell. All right, so mostly good news, tiny little bit of bad news over here in this side raised bed. So one afternoon I came out and kind of checked everything over. All my tomato plants looked awesome. Literally come out the next morning to give them a drink of water. This one is dead. I mean, I don't know how it just dies overnight. No chance to save it. Now the good news is all the rest of the tomato plants look awesome. And check this out. This one already has 2 tomatoes on it. And thought I seen one more somewhere. Yeah, right in there. There's another tomato. Oops, excuse me. And I already see another tomato putting on there. Flowers are looking good. Check out these peppers. Now this is a success story right here. I've got jalapenos starting to put on everywhere, and these pepper plants are still young and growing. Look at all those peppers in there. But check out the banana peppers. Holy moly. They are loading up. I've got banana peppers everywhere. Bell peppers. These little plants are already starting to put and load up with bells. Check that out. Back here. I mean, I got banana peppers that are soon going to be ready to eat. I'll let them get a little bigger than that though. So peppers are really happy. Other than one tomato plant, tomatoes seem relatively happy. I'm going to hit them with a little bit of nutrients, and maybe we'll have tomatoes here before long. Now, as far as all the citrus go, not a whole lot to talk about out here. Everything's looking okay. I still haven't ripped up the mulberries, but I've quit watering them, tending to them. They're dying off, so we will be getting rid of those. Tangelos starting to get some little blooms and all on them. I don't know if it's going to produce a tangelo or 2 this year. And limes and lemons are looking really happy. They're overloaded like always, so they'll be dropping some of these off. But lemon looking real good. Lime looks okay. I'm actually about to come out here and give all these a drink. It's been a couple of days, but not a whole lot to talk about out here. Okay, so not bad for our first picking. Now, I will admit I've got some ugly squash in there, but that's okay. Ugly squash need love too. We will eat them. But very happy for first picking. And usually once you start, you do not stop. I'll probably continue to pick every day now for several weeks, at least until the squash bugs show up to the point that everything just has to be tossed. As far as bean goes, very happy for that to be our first picking. We still have a lot of young plants out there that I have to put a lot more on. So that's just going to get better and better and better there. That looks like just enough for us to have with a meal tonight. So we're going to hopefully cut up and cook some of this for supper. So thank y'all so much for watching. Several of y'all asked for a garden update. There it is. I think I'm gonna go purchase some fertilizer for the first time since I've been doing raised bed gardening. Put a little down just to make me feel better and see if I can spruce some of those plants back up. But overall, everything out there is producing quite well. Catch y'all in the next video.